Long-distance relationship. Year 3. I changed my profile picture to match my boyfriend's. Suddenly, he sent me a message, "Wear something sexy tonight." The next second, the message was retracted. Oh, it seems my boyfriend might have a new girlfriend. Chapter 1. Before David retracted the message, I already took a screenshot. My mind went blank when I saw his sudden message, and the screenshot was purely a reflex. At first, it could be seen as a dirty joke between couples. Then David's retraction confirmed. My long-distance boyfriend of 3 years might have a new girlfriend. The screen showed typing for a long time. "Babe, what are you doing?" To avoid alarming him, I waited 2 minutes before replying, "Writing my thesis." "What did you retract?" He replied instantly, "Just a typo." Hee. I could imagine how relieved he was at that moment. David called, his voice bright and cheerful. "Babe, why did you suddenly change your profile picture?" "I saw it online. Felt it matched yours. So I changed it." David paused for a few seconds, then made up a reason. "What a coincidence. It turns out to be a couple's profile picture. I just picked it randomly. We must be meant to be together. What a perfect match." He joked playfully, but I couldn't muster a smile. He thinks I'm a fool. Chapter 2. When David first changed his profile picture, I didn't think much of it. He's young, likes anime and games, and often changes his profile picture, until my roommate saw my WeChat and exclaimed, "Hey, that couple's profile picture is so cute. I want to match with my boyfriend too." "This is a couple's profile picture?" My roommate said. "Yeah, I just saw the girl's version." She handed me her phone, showing a girl's social media account, a pink profile picture, the same color tone as David's WeChat profile picture. The difference was, his showed a pig driving a car, the girl's showed a pig sitting in the back seat. My roommate curiously asked, "Who's your pinned contact?" "My boyfriend." She widened her eyes and said slowly, "Your boyfriend might have a new girlfriend." I immediately said, "Impossible. I've known David since we were kids. He chased me for a long time before I agreed to date him. We've been in a long-distance relationship from the start, and that hasn't changed his clingy nature. How could someone who sends dozens of messages and calls several times a day be cheating?" But soon after, with an inexplicable feeling, I changed my profile picture to match that girl's exactly. And then, I received David's message. It was definitely not meant for me. We're separated by half of China. Besides, David would never say something like that to me. Chapter 3. I asked my roommate for the girl's account. She shares the same IP address as David, and her profile is also full of anime-related content. No wonder my roommate, a deep anime fan, came across her. 5 minutes ago, she posted something new. Seeing the content, I couldn't help but laugh at myself. So, right after David ended our call and confirmed that I hadn't seen that message, he couldn't wait to send it to the correct person. "Wear something sexy tonight." The girl posted a screenshot, with the caption, "Ugh, so annoying, having such a pervy boyfriend." The comment section was filled with many LSPs, lecherous old men. A few people, who seemed to know her in real life, asked, "Where are you going tonight?" The girl replied with the name of a bar. Chapter 4. I checked the latest flights. Departure at 6 p.m. Arrival at the airport at 8:30 p.m. 9 p.m. at the bar. Chapter 5. The music in the bar was deafening. I scanned the room and immediately spotted the most lively corner. Before witnessing this scene, I might have held on to a shred of hope, but after seeing it with my own eyes, all I felt was irony. The guy who once said he had loved me since his first crush and would never change, was now passionately kissing a voluptuous girl. How disgusting. I sent him a message. "What are you doing?" David, with one arm around the girl's waist, casually replied with one hand, "Studying. My girlfriend is so excellent. I, as her boyfriend, can't fall behind." Chapter 6. The girl, displeased with David's distraction, leaned in and kissed him again. He didn't push her away, just slightly annoyed. He said, "Valentina, stop it. I'm sending a message." Valentina showed no intention of stopping. Her hands roamed freely over his body. David gasped, grabbing her hand. Enough. His face flushed visibly, and then he pulled Valentina up, saying to the others, "We're going to the restroom." They chuckled knowingly. "Take care." They walked towards the back. I followed them, blending into the crowd. In the dim hallway, David's hand roamed over Valentina's thigh. Valentina suddenly asked, "Were you just messaging that old woman?" "Oh, so she knows about me." David, displeased, replied, "Don't talk about her like that." Valentina teased, "You get upset when I talk about her. Do you like me or her more?" David's breathing became heavier. "I like you more." "Okay? How could she compare to you? Isn't she boring? Not as fun as you. Then you're not allowed to touch her anymore." David mumbled an unclear agreement. My hand trembled, nearly dropping my phone. Suddenly, the boy in front of me, with his dazed expression, seemed frighteningly unfamiliar. The boy who used to chase after me, calling sister, sister, had turned into something monstrous. It was as if he had been devoured by a beast. Their questions and answers became more and more inappropriate. They only stopped reluctantly when someone walked by. I recorded the whole scene, hiding in the shadows as they walked past me. At this point, I could have thrown a drink at him and told him we were over, but would that be too lenient on him? What right does he have to compare me with someone else? And what right does he have to walk away unscathed after hurting me? He needs to suffer more than I do for me to feel better. I thought of a fun game. Wouldn't it be more interesting to make someone who plays with true feelings experience what it's like to be played with? I stood there for a long time, until my feet went numb, then quietly left. I took the next available flight back, pretending nothing had happened, but I knew there was no going back. Chapter 7. When I returned, the dormitory was locked. I booked a room near the campus and spent the night staring at the ceiling. No sleep at all. I'm 5 years older than David. When I was a senior in high school, he was in his first year of middle school and spent all his time at my house. One time, we were doing homework together, and he found a love letter in my backpack. He was furious and kept nagging me for days. "Gabriella, you're a senior now. How can you be dating? What if it affects your studies? Aren't you planning to get into Z University? That guy is so bad. How can he give you a love letter at this time? You can't say yes to him." I found him annoying. "What does a little kid like you know? And stop calling me Gabriella. Call me sis." Gabriella. Gabriella. At 14, David was already taller than me. His fair skin, delicate features, and boyish charm made him the kind of flower boy everyone adored. The kind that makes you want to pinch his face just to see him pout. "If you start dating early, I'll never call you sis again." I couldn't help but pinch his cheeks until they turned red, grinning at my success. "Got it. I don't plan on dating." Only then did David relent, muttering, "You have to wait for me to grow up." I didn't hear him clearly, and he didn't repeat it. When David took the college entrance exam, I was in graduate school at Z University. His grades weren't enough for Z University, but attending another school in the same city felt like a waste. I gave him lots of advice, and he followed my suggestions when filling out his applications. But before the application deadline, I decided to check, just to be sure. To my shock, he had changed all his choices to universities in the city where I was studying. I was so mad I grabbed his ear. David, unrepentant, said, "What if I went somewhere else and you started dating someone else?" I laughed. "What does my dating have to do with where you study?" By then, he was a head taller than he had been at 14, and when he looked down at me, his big double eyelids drooped slightly, making him look so innocent. "If you start dating someone else, what about me? Are you going to just abandon me?" He stared at me with determination. Under his burning gaze, my heart skipped a beat. I looked away, feeling awkward. "You're still just a kid. What do you know?" David protested. "I'm not a kid. Gabriella, I've grown up. I know I like you, and I want to be with you." In truth, I had noticed long ago, he cared more about my love life than even my parents did. He always liked sticking close to me, and my friends even called him my shadow. But he was still young. David saw through my thoughts. "I'm not that young anymore. I'm 18, and I'm taller than all the other guys around you, right? He pouted, insisting that I look at him. I looked up, meeting his eyes full of burning affection, heating up my heart. In the end, we made a deal. I agreed to his confession, and he promised to change his university applications back. David vowed, "Sis, I'll study hard in college and try to get into the graduate program at Z University so I can be your junior." For 3 years, he kept his promise, maintaining the highest GPA in his major. If he kept it up this semester, there was a high chance he could secure a spot in Z University's graduate program, ending our 3-year-long distance relationship. But just as the time was drawing near, why did he lose focus? Chapter 8. Looking back, the signs were there. In his first year of college, David would call and message me almost every day. He'd talk about how the sun was shining too brightly, complain about the cafeteria food, or tell me about the cats he spotted on campus. He'd even describe how it rained all morning, how the leaves were scattered on the ground, and how satisfying it felt to step on them. Every little thing in his life, he shared with me with enthusiasm. But at some point, his messages started to feel more like check-ins. The most frequent thing he said became, "I'm a bit tired from studying today." Messages about his life became fewer and fewer. I no longer knew if he had discovered any new food spots, which teacher had a funny accent, or whether the moon was full at his school that night. It seemed like we had nothing left to share. In hindsight, it's because he had someone closer to share with. Being far away, I became optional, dispensable. Chapter 9. The next morning at 9 a.m., David finally sent a message. "Why didn't you reply to my message? Did you forget?" It had been 12 hours since his last message. The old David would never have waited this long. If I didn't reply within 5 minutes, he would have already asked what was going on. So, did he sleep on it, regain some mental clarity, and not have the energy to fool me? I replied, "Yeah." I scrolled through our recent chats. In October, David, who never drank bubble tea, shared a new product from a certain brand with me. "Babe, do you want to try it? I'll buy you a cup to pick up. It's really good." I replied, "You don't drink bubble tea, do you?" I just felt like trying it, and it turned out to be pretty good. After that, he never shared bubble tea with me again. Why would someone who never drinks bubble tea suddenly want to try it? The most likely explanation is that the person around him wanted it. In other words, he was already involved with Valentina at that time. The image of David's labored breathing flashed in my mind. A surge of bitterness rose in my throat. I felt like throwing up. Chapter 10. Today, David sent me several messages, complaining about being tormented by advanced calculus all day. In the past, I would have comforted him. I'd even pull out my old textbooks and patiently explain everything to him. Now, I glanced at the messages and acted like I hadn't seen them. David isn't a very patient person. That night, he called, sounding upset. "Why aren't you replying to me?" I calmly responded, "Busy." I was annoyed, tempted to just lash out at him, but I held back. That would be too easy on him. Slowly wearing him down with indifference would hurt more. David sounded even more hurt. I've never treated him so coldly before. "So busy that you can't even send me a single message?" Yeah, for several days, I continued like this, implementing a no-reply policy to his messages. On the 4th day, when David called, his voice clearly revealed that he had been crying, slightly choked up. "Babe, what's going on with you lately? I feel like you don't want to talk to me." My heart twinged. It was an instinctive emotional reaction. I've always felt protective of him, but then, a sense of satisfaction crept in. I squinted my eyes, listening to him ask if I was feeling down, and casually replied, "Tired. Going to sleep." David fell silent, then cautiously asked, "Will you have time tomorrow?" Tomorrow is my birthday. Every year, he would fly over to see me, without fail. Yes, he sighed with relief. After hanging up, I felt a bit disoriented. He seemed to love me so much, getting upset when I ignored him, but still remembering my birthday and planning to surprise me. So why did he betray me? I just don't understand. Chapter 11. On my birthday, I made plans with a group of friends early in the morning. We went hiking. We started at 7 a.m. and reached the summit by 9 a.m. David called just as we arrived. I knew right away that he must have taken the earliest flight to come over. David has a serious habit of oversleeping, often being late for his 8 a.m. classes. But on my birthday, he would always get up early, prepare a gift for me, and set off with enthusiasm. I glanced at the call and then turned off my phone. At 1 p.m., we had lunch at the foot of the mountain. A junior sent me a video of David waiting outside the girls' dormitory. Senior, is this your boyfriend? Even in January, the South is cold. David was wearing the white couple's jacket we bought together last year. He stood under a banyan tree, the cold wind lifting fallen leaves and ruffling his short black hair. He was looking down, either texting or calling, but getting no response. His expression was one of confusion and helplessness, making him look so desolate and pitiful. I replied, he was being adults. My junior quickly understood that something was wrong between us and promised not to interact with him. That evening, we went to a karaoke bar to sing. When we came out, the junior told me that David was still there. Of course, I knew he was still there. He had called several of my friends, and I told them to say they didn't know where I was. He was on the verge of panic. My friends said if I didn't return soon, he might call the police. So, at 11 p.m., I went back. When David looked up and saw me, his eyes instantly lit up. He ran over to take my hand, but I dodged him. His face quickly showed disappointment, but he forced a smile. Babe, where have you been? Out celebrating my birthday with friends. David looked aggrieved. Why didn't you tell me? I sneered. Do I have to tell you everything? Are you my mom? He didn't expect me to speak like that. It took him a moment to find his voice, stumbling over his words. No, it's just that I couldn't reach you. I was worried. I turned off my phone. Oh, David looked down, trying to hide the tears in his eyes. Then, he hurriedly took out a gift. This is your present. Happy birthday. It was a thick notebook. The cover was a photo sticker we took last year on my birthday. In the photo, he was hugging me from behind, making a yes gesture towards the camera, with a goofy grin on his face. Anyone could see his joy and contentment. I had no desire to even open it. Thanks. David couldn't suppress his sadness any longer, his lips trembling. Babe, why? Suddenly, a voice interrupted him. Gabriella, did you forget something? A man approached us. He was tall, and the black trench coat, which is difficult to wear stylishly, fit him perfectly, exuding elegance and ease. He handed me a coat. Looking slightly exasperated, you didn't bring a coat. Aren't you cold? Just as I took the coat, David grabbed my hand and pulled me to his side, glaring at Martin with hostility. Who is he? David looked like an angry wolf cub, guarding his territory and trying to drive away the intruder. I had no interest in staging a love triangle in front of all the passing students. I pulled my hand away and said to Martin, thanks. Senior, you should head back. Martin smiled faintly. Sure. Today was fun, wasn't it? His words were ambiguous, immediately infuriating David. He glared. What do you mean by that? Martin waved it off and left. I grabbed David, unable to hide my annoyance. David, stop it. It's late. You should go. The disdain in my eyes made David's face turn red with anger. He held back for a long time before finally asking, Babe, have you fallen for someone else? I scoffed. I'm not like you. His face turned pale, his lips trembling. I kindly added, I mean, unlike you young people, I don't change my mind so easily. I turned and walked back to the dormitory. He followed me, asking, aren't you going to come out with me? In the past, whenever he came to visit, I would indeed go out with him. For a couple reuniting after a long time apart, it was normal to engage in some intimate activities. But now, the thought disgusted me. I'm dull and boring. How could I compare to his fun and exciting little girlfriend? I've been out all day. I'm tired. David stood there for a long time. I looked out from the dorm window after I returned, and he was still standing there. After I finished my shower, all I could see was his lonely figure walking away. I admit, I pathetically softened. Chapter 12. David's birthday gift was a photo album, filled with memories of all the things we've done together since we were kids. On his 6th birthday, He insisted on placing the crown on my head. The adults found it amusing and took a picture of the moment, laughing. When he was 10, our families went to the beach together. As he slipped in the sand, he clung tightly to my hand. After I finished my college entrance exams, he came to pick me up, holding a bouquet of flowers. Most of the album, though, is about our 3 years of dating. He documented all my emotions, my joys, sorrows, and everything in between. He wrote down every little detail, every event. He wrote that when I was happy, he was even happier. When I was sad, he wished he could be sad in my place. At the end, he wrote, "When you held my hand as a child, I felt full of security. Now, when you hold my hand, I feel nothing but happiness." And wasn't it the same for me? We've known each other for nearly 20 years. He's an inseparable part of my life. That's why, when he betrayed me, I hated him so much. Hating someone is so exhausting. Maybe it's time to let go. I wiped the moisture from the corner of my eye. Chapter 13. I went to find him. Room 0105 at the hotel by the campus. January 5th is my birthday, and every year he books the same room. As I stood outside the hotel, I saw a girl I had only met once. In the cold winter night, with the wind blowing, she was showing off her bare legs, exuding a fiery confidence. It was Valentina. I felt as if I had been slapped, finding my own softness laughable. Chapter 14. I booked the room next to theirs. Maybe it was some self-destructive urge, but I wanted to see just how far David would go to humiliate me. Soon, I heard the sound of an argument coming from the next room. "David, what are you doing here?" "Valentina, just because someone else doesn't care about you doesn't mean I can't." "David, she's just tired." "Valentina, David, stop lying to yourself. She doesn't care about you like I do." Soon, the voices faded, replaced by the unmistakable sounds of intimacy. So, this is how bad the hotel's soundproofing is. I should be sad, but I felt too drained even to be sad. At that moment, Martin sent me a message, asking what I was doing. I couldn't exactly tell him I was listening to my boyfriend and his new girlfriend having their fun, could I? While I was figuring out how to respond, he sent another message. "Did your junior use me today?" I did intentionally leave my coat in his car. My little scheme being exposed made me feel a bit embarrassed. "Sorry." "No worries. I'm glad I could help you." My hand trembled slightly, and I changed the subject. "Senior, if you have time, could you reply to our junior's questions? He's been pestering me about it." "All right." I could almost picture Martin's exasperated expression. This little exchange lightened my mood quite a bit, so much so that I felt mischievous again. I sent a message to David. "I shouldn't have treated you that way today. I came to find you. It's still room 0105, right?" "I'm almost there." Chapter 15. The room next door descended into chaos in an instant. Valentina cried out, "David, what do you take me for? Someone to summon and dismiss at your will? Did I force you? You're a jerk." Valentina was eventually pushed out. David even warned her, "Don't let her see you, or I won't let you off." I watched through the peephole as David dragged her out. The absurdity of the scene actually made me want to laugh. Perhaps after sending Valentina away, David called me, unable to hide the tension and excitement in his voice. "Babe, when are you coming over?" Without hesitation, I poured cold water on his hopes. "It's too cold." So I went back. "Maybe tomorrow." David's excitement immediately deflated. "Oh, let's go out and have fun tomorrow. To make up for not spending my birthday together, I will give you the best tomorrow. This is the last bit of sweetness I'll give you." The darkened phone screen reflected my cold face. Half an hour later, I received a friend request on WeChat. "You're just a boring old woman. Go die. Die. Why don't you just die? How dare you use that profile picture? You're too old for a pink pig. It's so stupid." I kindly accepted her friend request. "Aren't you curious who I am?" "Not curious at all." Valentina didn't reply after that. I scrolled through her moments. Oh, so she and David really did get together last October. I felt nothing. Not even a ripple of emotion. I even considered giving myself a pat on the back for being the reincarnation of Miss Marple. Valentina had been chasing him for 6 months. David only mentioned once that there was an annoying junior pestering him. He never told me about the flowers or the public confessions that followed. I guess he was enjoying it too much. Chapter 16. The next day. I got up early. I called him from outside the hotel and told him to come down. When David finally appeared, he hesitated, unsure whether to approach me. I waved at him and teased. "What are you standing there for? Don't you want to go out and have fun?" Like a sudden break in the clouds, David's face lit up with a smile, his eyes brimming with happiness. I spent the whole day with him, letting him have the time of his life. We strolled through the campus, and I told him about my recent studies and life. I took him to try new foods I had recently discovered and told him that when he got into our university for graduate school, he could come often. I used the entire day to build him a dream, to tell him that I was waiting for him. David had a class the next day, so I personally took him to the airport. Before leaving, he looked at me, unwilling to part. I knew what he was waiting for. He wanted me to kiss him like before and wish him safe travels, but I did nothing. He was too filthy. I couldn't bring myself to do it. Seeing the disappointment in his eyes, I nudged him forward. "Go on." After his plane landed, David messaged me that he had arrived. That's when I noticed he had updated his profile picture. It was a new couple's profile picture with Valentina. My profile picture now stood alone in the list, playing a pathetic solo. TSK. I changed my profile picture too, to one of my favorite, Miss Marple. Chapter 17. After returning, David went back to being as clingy as before. He didn't miss a single message or phone call, but I had changed. I barely replied to his messages, and I only answered his calls when I felt like it. Sometimes, when I got busy, I wouldn't reply or answer for 10 days to half a month. David's emotions plummeted from the heights, crashing down hard. He was constantly anxious and uneasy. "Babe, are you going to leave me?" "Yes, I am." But all I said was, "Don't overthink things." Chapter 18. Time flew by, and soon it was winter break. David's school let out a few days earlier than mine, and he wanted to wait for me so we could go home together. I told him to go ahead without me, using the excuse that I had to stay on campus to work on experiments and didn't want him to disturb me. Reluctantly, he went back home alone. The 8th day of the break was the anniversary of David's mother's death. David contacted me, asking what time I would be back. "I'm not coming back today." He was silent for a long time. Before my patience ran out, he finally spoke slowly. "Today is my mom's anniversary. Babe, did you forget?" I used the gentlest voice to say the cruelest words. "I know, but she was your mother, not mine. I don't have time to visit her with you every year." For the first time, David hung up on me. I had lied to him. I arrived at the cemetery around the same time he did. From a distance, I watched David stand in front of his mom's grave for a long time. His head was lowered. I couldn't see the expression on his face. He looked like a tree stump, standing there for ages. The gloomy sky painted a bleak picture. David's mom had died in a car accident when he was 12. What made it worse was that 3 months after the accident, his dad remarried. No one cared about how a child felt, even when he skipped school, caused trouble in class, and refused to do his homework. No one questioned why. They would just say, "David is getting more and more out of control as he grows up." It seemed like I was the only one who knew that he would cry in the middle of the night and secretly visit his mom's grave. I was the one who helped him through it. When he went missing, I would go to the cemetery to bring him home. It took 6 months for the smile to return to his face. This time, David stayed alone for 3 hours. He started by standing, then sat on the ground, resting his head against his mom's tombstone, as if seeking comfort. Only after he left did I step forward and place a bouquet of yellow chrysanthemums. "Auntie, I won't be coming here with David anymore." The first time I brought him home from the cemetery, I promised her at her grave that I would accompany him here every year. The only difference between a vow and a lie is the word love. They stand on opposite sides of the scale. Wherever love tilts, that's where the balance tips. David forgot that what I loved was his honesty and sincerity, not deception. Chapter 19. On New Year's Eve, David found out that I had returned home. He squeezed into my room. "Why didn't you tell me you were back? My professor didn't give us a long break. I have to return to school by the second day." In such a hurry, he said that and then left, acting mysterious all day. I wasn't interested in finding out why. At 11:30 p.m., David suddenly called me downstairs. At first, I wanted to ignore him, but then I remembered that he lived next door, and if I didn't go down, he would definitely come knocking. So, I reluctantly went downstairs in my pajamas. David was holding something, smiling brightly as he waved me over, completely carefree. For a moment, it felt like we were kids again. He grabbed my hand and started running before I could react. He led me to an abandoned amusement park. We used to play here all the time when we were kids, but it had since gone out of business. I frowned and asked him, "What are we doing here?" David pulled out some sparklers like a magician. "Tada. This is a no fireworks zone. We'll just light a few. They're so pretty, aren't they? We used to play with them all the time when we were kids. We didn't have much money back then, so we could only afford a few. Now we can afford more, but they're not allowed in the city." As he spoke, he lit several sparklers at once. The dazzling light illuminated his smile, but that light quickly faded. It was a fleeting beauty. It was soon swallowed by the darkness. I took a picture and sent it to Valentina. "Aren't the sparklers pretty?" David's phone buzzed. He glanced at it, his expression stiffening as he hung up the call and turned off his phone. I smirked. "Who was that? Why didn't you answer?" David tried to stay calm. "Just a friend from college. Nothing important. They're probably just calling to wish me a happy new year. I only want to spend time with you right now." When he lies, he blinks rapidly. It's an unconscious habit of his, one he might not even be aware of. But I knew it well. I told him I was tired and wanted to go back to sleep. He didn't argue, but he seemed preoccupied on the way back. We were walking so close that our shadows nearly merged, but our thoughts were worlds apart, too afraid to share with each other. Chapter 20. In the middle of the night, Valentina sent me several messages. Boasting. He said he'll spend tomorrow with me. "I'm more important to him than you are. If you have any sense, you should break up with David. You're 5 years older than him, and you still have the nerve to cling to him. How shameless." I felt a bit exasperated with Valentina, even though I knew she was knowingly the other woman. I didn't initially plan to do anything to her. After all, the real issue is a man who can't keep it in his pants. But I never imagined that Valentina would think this was something to be proud of. Is it really worth it to go this far for a man? I typed back, "If you were more important, he would have broken up with me by now." My reply enraged Valentina. She proceeded to share every detail of her plans with David for the next day. David, probably worried that I might see them, had deliberately chosen the farthest part of town to meet Valentina. They went to an amusement park. Valentina bragged about the stuffed animals David won for her. They went to the movies. Valentina sent me a picture of them holding hands while sitting in the couple's seats. And then, they went to a hotel. Valentina sent me a picture of David's bare back. "I heard you're like a dead fish." How outdated. It's the 21st century, and you only know one position. I laughed at myself, then got dressed and prepared to go out. Might as well deal with this before the new semester starts. Don't want it affecting my studies. I drove to the hotel and arrived in less than half an hour. As luck would have it, they were just coming out. Valentina was clinging to David's arm, chatting and laughing. David, on the other hand, seemed uninterested, responding half-heartedly. I honked the horn, lowered the window, and greeted them. "Good afternoon. Are you done with your business?" They both turned to look at me. Valentina seemed only slightly surprised by my appearance, then clung even tighter to David's arm as if to flaunt it. David, however, looked as if he had been shocked, immediately pulling her away. The moment he saw me, all the color drained from his face. I could see clearly that his body was trembling. Chapter 21. I smiled warmly at David, as if I were a street vendor inviting a customer. "Get in the car." He took a few steps toward me but was pulled back by Valentina. "Are you just going to leave me here alone? I came here just to see you." "Get lost." David yanked his hand away from her again. How heartless. I sighed and said, "We're having dinner with both of our families tonight. Why don't you bring her along? You can introduce her to your dad as your new girlfriend." David staggered. He gripped the car's hood and shot a glare at Valentina. I said, "Get lost. Didn't you understand?" Reluctantly, Valentina stopped, glaring at me with resentment. I felt like I was being unjustly blamed. She probably still thinks I'm trying to compete with her. Compete for what? The love of a two-timing man? Is that something worth fighting for? David tried to get into the front seat but couldn't open the door. I stared straight ahead. "Sit in the back. I'm afraid I might feel like crashing into something if you sit next to me." He moved like a robot with dry gears, stiffly getting into the back seat. I drove to the parking lot of our residential area. After parking the car, I turned to face his blank expression. "Tell me, why?" His eyes blinked rapidly. "She's just a classmate from college. She was in town, so I showed her around. I got her a hotel room, but she wasn't satisfied, so I just wanted to find her a better one." I laughed and couldn't help but remind him on January 5th. "I was in the room right next to yours. The hotel's soundproofing was terrible. I could hear everything." I played the video I had recorded. Their voices were crystal clear. "Were you just texting that old woman? Don't talk about her like that. Are you upset because I insulted her? Do you like me more? Or her?" "I like you more, all right? She can't compare to you. Isn't she boring? Not as fun as you. Then you're not allowed to touch her anymore." The light in David's eyes instantly vanished. He muttered, "You've known all along." I thought I would be calm. After all, for the past month, I had watched him jump around like a clown, thinking he was fooling me. But at this moment, anger overwhelmed me. I glared at him with pure hatred. "David, how could you be so disgusting? You chased after me. I didn't cling to you. Boring? Didn't you already know what kind of person I am? How dare you use me as your plaything? What's wrong with me being 26? Are you not going to live to see 26? Yes. You probably won't make it to 26 as a doctoral student. You're just too filthy. Vile insects, no wonder you're a perfect match. Every time I think about you touching me, I feel sick. You're disgusting." I had never hated anyone as much as I did at this moment. When I first saw them kissing, I even doubted myself. Was I really that boring in bed? Did our age difference create an unbridgeable gap between us? But I quickly realized the truth. He was the one who told me that 5 years didn't matter, that he loved me no matter what. He cheated because he fell out of love. It had nothing to do with me. Why should I change to suit him? David covered his face, his shoulders shaking uncontrollably. "It's her. She's the one who kept pursuing me." Then, he started telling me about how Valentina had thrown herself at him, passionately chasing after him. She found out what he liked, and to get closer to him, she embraced everything he enjoyed. They attended anime conventions together and shared the latest shows. She became his confidant. David was never meant to be a scholar. He studied only to be closer to me. When he was tired, Valentina would help him relax. He said Valentina was the opposite of me. If he got stuck in a rut, I would encourage him to move forward, while Valentina would stay with him, making the same mistakes. He felt that I was too rational. My condition for making our relationship public was that he get into the graduate program at Z University. But Valentina loved him so much that she lost herself. David said dejectedly, "I never thought about leaving you for Valentina. I just sometimes felt like you were too far away. You even found out about my betrayal so calmly. I don't know if you agreed to be with me out of pity." For the first time, I felt pitiful. I laughed coldly. "I didn't make our relationship public because of our age difference. My parents would worry that you were just young and impulsive, afraid you'd regret it later. So I thought I'd wait until you were a bit older, a bit more mature, and they'd feel reassured. Now I see that my decision was absolutely right. You're not worth the risk, and I'm grateful for my initial choice." After getting out of the car, I took a deep breath and looked at him intently. There are so many people in the world who deserve pity. Why am I not with any of them? David's eyes flashed with hope, but it was quickly drowned by tears. "Babe, I was wrong. I'll completely cut ties with Valentina, can we?" I cut him off. "David, Don't disgust me with that. Let's just be strangers from now on. Chapter 22. At the family dinner, Uncle Wu asked me, Gabriella, do you have a boyfriend? No, surely there's someone you like. I replied calmly, no, but there is someone so disgusting that seeing them makes me want to vomit. David's face turned as pale as a sheet. Chapter 23. With the new semester, I blocked both David and Valentina, but David kept showing up, trying to catch me and begging for another chance. I treated him like he was invisible. His actions had consequences. His grades for the second semester of his third year were terrible, making it impossible for him to get into the graduate program. Meanwhile, it was time for Martin to graduate. He invited me to take graduation photos with him. I agreed. After getting the photos developed, he found me and confessed his feelings. I didn't even hesitate to reject him. Senior, everyone has their own path. I wish you the best in soaring to new heights. But we're not heading in the same direction. Martin didn't say anything else and left the photo with me. My life has never had room for romance. The only reason I made an exception was because that person was David, a lonely ruler, pursuing a PhD with 10 SCI papers to their name. Chapter 24. While everyone was busy preparing for graduate school exams, David kept pestering me. As expected, his exam results were terrible too. David, with red eyes, asked me, am I really that bad? I had just come out of the lab building and was already in a bad mood when he blocked my way. I gave him a cold look and said, don't you have any self-awareness? If I hadn't helped you with your studies in high school, do you think you would have made it into college? A few months later, I heard from a friend that Valentina had accused David of plagiarism in his thesis. The situation caused quite a stir, but after an investigation, it was confirmed that David hadn't plagiarized. Then Valentina exposed David's cheating. She claimed she had unknowingly been the other woman. Soon after, mutual friends anonymously posted that Valentina knew she was the other woman from the start. Both of them ended up being publicly shamed. Valentina's contract with a company she had signed with was cancelled, but David didn't care about any of it. After graduation, he moved to my city. One late night, I received a text from an unknown number. I lost. I replied, I wasn't competing with you. Men will never be my trophies. Chapter 25. Upon completing my PhD, my advisor recommended me for a position at a joint research institute. The institute was abroad. Without a second thought, I accepted. Their research focus aligned perfectly with my interests. By the time David heard the news, I was already at the airport. His eyes were red and swollen as he desperately asked, are you running away from me? I smiled calmly. David, you don't have that kind of power. What drew me across the globe was the allure of science. Goodbye. Forever.